welcome to the Woods with Travis. First episode of 2023, episode 15, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm excited to have Tyler Boutilier on with me today. And Tyler and I, although we don't bump into each other necessarily out in the woods all that much or live next to each other, we keep up with each other on social media, of course. And the reason I want to have Tyler on today is because Tyler had a smoking year. Tyler went 3 for 3 big game, 2 bucks and a bear. Correct. I got that right. It was a smaller buck, a bigger buck, and a bear. I know that you've had some archery success in the past. Let's roll into it pretty much as a small intro, Tyler. How did you get into hunting, and then how did you get into bow hunting, or was it one and the same?
No, actually, that was kind of I got into it super different. I didn't grow up around bow hunting. I grew up around like rifle hunting, trapping, fishing. Always kind of dabbled with all of it. Like I come from a long family of hunters and trappers. When I say hunting, it's all gun hunting on my side of the family. All gun hunting. I did the duck hunting, shooting squirrels, and like using their pelts and cleaning them, and so like got into like the fur trade super young. So I've kind of always been around it. I mean, going into my, like when I would start to hunt, I used to take the rifle out, grab dad's 30-30, Old Faithful. I set up like a few stands before when I was like in high school, had no success. And that is a young, like when you're young, like you're 18, 17, you first get in the woods and you don't have success, it's like the worst thing ever, because you see the guys that you look up to on the back of the truck, these huge deer, and you're just like, man, like I'm not even seeing tracks.
Right.
So, and as soon as like I graduated, I moved away from my hometown, did not hunt, and I really didn't start hunting again until I was, I want to say probably 21, 22.
Okay.
And when I was like 16, 17, all I wanted for Christmas was a bow. And I remember to the day, it was a Parker Buck Hunter bow. Like it was old Parker brand. The model was Buck Hunter. I felt like a complete badass. Killed nothing with it. Still had it to when I was like 21, 22 years old. Right. And I ended up selling that and upgrading to a Hoyt. And I wanted to get back into hunting. I moved to a different location, which is like the Pictou County area. Okay. And like, I mean, ample opportunity for deer hunting here.
Sure.
And like way more than I grew up on the Eastern Shore, super heavily hunted. I mean, you got 8 people hunting for the same deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fast forward to that. I mean, I had ample opportunity. My partner at the time, actually, their family owned a bunch of land. So I kind of hunted that. And I mean, my first year, I was able to, kill my first spike. And this is at the age of like, again, 21 years old. I'm hyped, like to kill a spike horn. And to this day, I'd still be pumped to kill a spike horn. Don't care. Does not need big racks for me.
No, and with archery gear, I think that a lot of people who come from let's call it a long gun history, or family, going and doing it with a bow and arrow, regardless of whether we're talking compound or traditional.
Oh yeah,
it's just, you get that excitement again. I hear so many gun guys say that, and I think that's part and why it's so hugely popular now, and not only popular with hunters, but also, I mean, you're hard up to find a hunting personality now that isn't taking archery, deer and bear now.
It's a dying hobby, but the people that I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to help a few friends to get into hunting the last few years.
Yeah,
and they're hooked.
Yeah,
just hooked. And these are like everything from young adults to middle-aged men, old, like, it's great. Like they're stoked. So so my first year I tagged out on spike horn. And then the next year, I actually was fortunate enough, there was an 8-pointer, and I whacked that. And I mean, both like died within like 40, 50 yards. And like, that's just, I was like, okay, I'm fully in this. And then just year after year, I said, I made the commit. My next year, actually, I didn't tag anything. So I went from filling 2 tags to eating tag soup. And I said, okay, there's a reason this happened.
Right.
You know, preparation wasn't there. Like, I kind of started hunting off the whim again. Like, let's prep let's try to put it all in there. And I was hunting from like ground blinds and brush bars. No, I wasn't even buying like tree stands, anything like that. I was just trying to get out there and get time in the woods.
Yep.
And I really didn't start hunting from tree stands until about like 4 years ago. Okay. Everything was like ground blinds and brush blinds. And yeah, so I'm fast track. I mean, killed a couple 4s, 6s throughout the years. Got into bear hunting there about 5. I've been doing bear hunting for I want to say 5 years.
Right.
5 years now. And luckily enough for me, every year I managed to crack a bear.
Well, and if you listen to most guys who are out in the woods, guys and girls, I should say, hunters, we've definitely, that's interesting. I didn't know I was going to be getting new computer. I'm getting my texts and they're flashing up.
No,
driving me nuts. But as far as bears go, I mean, when people ask, you know, how do you hunt bear? You know, like they want to get into it. It's pretty much be where the bears are, and more and more and more. That's almost everywhere.
Oh, man. Like bear hunt will always. This year was really tough for me. I seen bears. 100%. I've seen quite a few bears. We'll get into it later.
Yeah.
I got it's a one that kind of hurts me a little bit this year. Yeah, so the years went on, and there was 1 year I actually got like this big heavy 6-pointer. I'm like, oh my god, like it was my first like big deer. Like it was an older deer. Just even to this, actually, this one behind me here, and he's not even big, but to me at the time, man, he was huge. And I had about a week before him. Like this was my highlight season for seasons till the year of last.
Right.
And then I shot it. I made a stupid mistake, and I did try to do a frontal shot on a big 8-point, big front, like big boxy 8-point. Ended up cracking the front shoulder, like right down on the shoulder. Blew my arrow up. I seen the lighted knot go flying. I mean, I got the arrow on the ground, and I see legit just my broadhead sheared off.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I tracked that thing. Like I followed his track for like 150 yards. And I said, not a speck of blood. Like there was like fur and like a splat of blood on the base of my arrow. And that was it. Yeah. So I backed out. Killed him a week later, and then the big boxy 8 came back first day of general season, didn't even know. Perfect broadside shot, ran 20 yards, called out. So there was still the scar on everything. And then that was like, oh my god, I can shoot a big deer with a bow. Like this is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, to most people, they don't think an 8-pointer is a big deer. I mean, but that was my biggest deer at the time, and that thing got my heart going.
Yeah. Well, and this is again. We talk about those things again at over and over and over again. And I wish we'd stop almost.
Oh man, it's horrible.
If someone is happy with the deer they shot, be happy for them. Period.
Oh, man, yeah.
Period. You know, like we're 4%. We're 4% of the population. We don't need
and take bow hunting out of it. Take it.
Yes.
I mean, like you were able to provide. I mean, I always think if you are hunting, you are providing food. Like I never think of that because that's how I grew up.
Right.
So I never ever think of. I mean, yeah, the rack's cool. It gives a great story, and it gives that excitement when someone walks in your living room and sees this big deer. There's more of a story to it rather than there's more of an interest for them, I guess.
Yeah, it's And that's a good point, because I mean, I know myself this year, I made a choice. I was sitting in a stand and I had a spike come in, and I haven't put much meat in the freezer the last couple of years, Tyler. I haven't. And this spike came in, but that whole week he was with one of the Big Tens. They were still buddied up.
Yeah.
And so you got 15 minutes of daylight left.
Roll
He's
the
coming
dice.
in. Do I take that shot or do I wait for the 10? And I'll tell you what, Travis out of the woods, Travis in the woods, I try to make most of my decisions before I go into the woods. I think that's what deer will I shoot? What deer? I try to give myself some guidance.
To me, because I make a decision right there.
Right. And this is it. I because they had been buddied up, I made that decision that I was going to wait. I wasn't going to take the spike because there was a chance that 10 was going to come in with it. And so I just watched that spike for 15 minutes. Not only 15 minutes, then it got dark. I watched him for another 10 or 15. No big buck showed up. I wasn't able to shoot regardless, even if it had. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to hang around now that it's dark until the big buck shows up. I'd rather spook the spike. And I got down. I got down. The little guy never even got off the apples as I left. Like it was kind of silly.
That happened. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because there's been deer in the past, and I'm looking at my cabinet right now, that I passed on 3 times in the season, and for whatever reason, he came in that morning or that evening, and I'm like, well, I mean, I still got it, and it was just flicked on me, like this is happening right now.
Right.
And I thankfully I don't get very excited. The shot process never really hit me. It's once I see the arrow hit, I'm like, oh, this is happening, and my heart doesn't stop then. So I'm lucky I can keep it very collected, I guess.
Yeah.
So, kind of backtracking that season where I shot the 6 and the 8, and that was actually my first year bear hunting too, and I became successful in that. I shot my first bear with a bow. And then I shot it 7 yards in front of me, died 10 yards in front of me. Like that was my first taste of punching 3 tags.
Right.
And then after that, I said, this is my goal. I said, I do not get, I want to. Sorry, my dog's dead. I put her some treats off to the side. And so that was my first time tagging 3, and I said, okay, here's my commitment. As a bow hunter, I want to fill 3 animals in the freezer. Like that, I said, forget racks, forget all of it.
Yeah.
Let's just go with it. And I mean, I've been very fortunate that I have tagged some really nice animals. I mean, you follow me on social media.
Yeah.
I've never said to myself, I am committing to that deer. There was one time that I have, and he was like a broken half rack. I just thought he was cool.
Right.
And that was 125 hours in a stand. So not the most, I was sketched out. I didn't even know I was tagging anything that year, but, I mean, I shot I think it was a 280 bear, which I thought was 300, because that was my big thing. I want to shoot a 300-pound bear. I have not yet.
Yep.
But I shot a lot of bears. I like to believe one every year for, I think it was 5-6 years now.
Yep. I've been following you about that long. And, I've always found that, I mean, you're consistent with your bears. And
I love bear. Deer hunting is great. And when I'm deer hunting, I'm so passionate about it, but there's something about bear hunting. I don't know if it's the hot summer days baiting and then the reward of actually succeeding in it. And I don't know if it's you trying to trick bigger bears, because that's what it is. You can get a lot of bears on your bait. I mean, my best day bear hunting, I've watched 9 bears.
Right. Yeah.
But the days that I shot on were the days I see 1 bear. So to trick big, that's what it is. With bear hunting, and I anybody sees this, whoever wants to mess with me about bear hunting or anything, that's something holds near with me, is tricking them.
It's interesting because I mean,
There's
here,
back.
this little bit of a conversation, other than perhaps, that one time, like you say, with the broken half rack, you're not necessarily chasing that one deer all season, but it sounds like part of the reason why you like bear hunting is trying, maybe not a specific bear, but there's only so many big bear in an area any year anyway,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah,
after
don't get me
them
wrong.
specifically.
I like hunting like a 3.5 year old deer. But if there's
Yeah.
a 3.5 year old deer, cool. That's the one that, like, this year I passed on like, I think like $4, but they were all just like spikes and 4 points. And
Yeah.
I ended up shooting a 5 and really big 9. And both of them I just didn't even know they existed.
So this will lead me into, so again, having watched you primarily over the last 5 years, we're following, I guess. What this is what it sort of kind of leads into. If a new bow hunter was going to be watching this, what was it like? You took the 5. You said that you took that early season. Was it what was your first arrow this year?
This year,
Yeah, was it the
it
bear?
was black bear. It was yeah, I shot him. And actually, it was the first week of October. I've never held a bear tag in October. So, like, the
Oh,
first week of October, I'm like, oh man, like these bears are about to switch. Like, everything's going to change.
okay.
So, it was a bear's first week of October.
Okay. So were you in the stand bear hunting all of September?
All September. I don't start hunting deer till my bear tag's punched.
Okay. I'm the same way for the most part, unless something has screwed something up and I just need to go.
Sometimes you can't help it.
Yeah. And I get that. So you were you passing bear through September until this one came along? Okay.
No, actually.
Oh, see here. Okay.
Yeah. And I think I have the footage of it. I have the footage of it. I have screenshots of it, and I've watched it so many times.
Yeah.
It was before a big windstorm we were about to have. It was the last 20 minutes of light, and the bear that I was after walks in, and I remember when I was the way I'm in like it's a super old like porter trail, like I mean old as the hill, so it kind of opens up and it's thick around me. I seen in the back of the woods, I just seen this big black blob go to the left. I said, okay, here we go. I grabbed my bow, I kind of just set it on me, and I see it again. And then all of a sudden I see it behind this pine and I see its head and its ears. I'm like, this is definitely 200 plus, but how big is this thing?
Right.
It breaks out of this trail completely broadside, and I'm seeing this thing walk, and it is the biggest bear I've seen on Paul alive.
Right.
Without a doubt in my head, I'm like, oh, shooter, this thing just wrote the death note.
Right.
And it sits in front of the one smallest pine tree I did not cut. I mean, like this thing, Travis, is 3 feet tall. Like I said, I'm 20 feet in the air. This thing is like this sits in front of it.
Yeah.
And it's getting dark. Like it's sitting there. I'll send you the video, man. It's sitting there just panting its head back and forth. And I'm like, he knows something's up.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, and when you're calculating these things in your head, when do I make my chest move? When do I make my next move?
Yeah.
I said in my head, when he gets up on all fours, regardless, he's focusing on getting up. He is focused on that barrel or something else. I'm drawing back then because I don't know what he's doing after that.
Sure.
He gets up on all fours. I draw back, and I don't know if it was a creak on the bow or what, but he didn't bolt off like he was shot, but he kind of like just trottled off like enough that I couldn't stop. I even whistled when he got past the barrel.
Right.
Like last flight effort, nothing. He was gone. And even when I watch the video now, you see this bear and like every part of him is just shaking. I'm like, and this is like a pumpkin head. This would have been my biggest bear. Like it was the bear that I wanted.
Right.
After that, we had Fiona. That's what it was coming into Fiona. It was a day before Fiona.
Okay. Yeah.
Fiona hit, and that trashed my sight. My stand was like this. So I cut that out, put it in another tree, put out, I think, like 200 pounds of bait. Like I was last ditch effort.
Yep.
Because we just went a week without a power, a week without hunting. We're all getting back in the woods.
Yep.
Because freezers were down. Like it was really scary. If you shot an animal, what are you doing with it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it was warm.
Yeah. Yep.
So, anyways, I said to myself, next really good opportunity, a decent bear.
Yeah.
It's done. I'm
Right.
like, I can't play with this. I need to go on a deer.
Yeah.
Decent bear comes out. I really thought he was a 200-pound bear. He was not. That's shitty. That is the one thing about bear hunting. Like you think you see a big bear till you shoot big bears.
Yeah.
You need to mess up a lot. I mean, and to this day, I would not shoot that bear different.
Right.
I've learned something this season.
Yeah.
I shot that bear perfect. I have a screenshot of that knock burying into him.
Yep.
And I sent it to like 8 people. They all said dead bear.
Right.
Man, Travis, we track this thing. I bet you, as the crow flies, 200 yards.
Right.
The road he went, probably 400.
Yeah.
And like specks of blood. Like it was, but we got him. It was all good. And even me looking at the shot, like when I had him with the hide off and everything, I said, perfect shot.
Yeah.
I said, I would never tell anybody to shoot a bear different.
Yeah.
So fast forward. I'm just kind of running through my C's. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, I'm having an issue here. Can you still see me?
Yep.
I apologize, everyone, as you're watching. I may have to do a little bit of a pause and a cut. My computer is telling me that I need to. All right. So technical things that I'm going to have to figure out with this new computer. Zoom was going to cut our interview short. So there will be a little bit of a splice. I don't do many splices, but today it was necessary, and I'll figure that out later. Ty, let's tie back in. We've just arrowed. I don't want to say a small bear or a smaller bear.
Average bear.
Right, average bear. Exactly. We got meat in the freezer, as they like to say so much. So you managed to track that guy down. It was a bit of a long track. Any idea why it was a long track?
I have no idea. Both arms were hit, like it was just behind the heart, a little high, like came out, last rib on a bear. Went
right.
Like it again.
No. Sometimes there isn't an explanation. That's the truth. Yeah. The fortunate thing is that with the lack of blood, you guys stayed on it. You actually managed to find.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, if there's one takeaway note from that, I mean, man, stay persistence in those blood trails. I mean, I bet you 80% of people would have called quits after that.
Yeah.
Because I tracked it, I think, 80 yards myself. And I remember calling 2 of my buddies and said, man, like this thing stopped bleeding. I never had a bear do this.
Right.
And I'm an expandable guy.
Yeah.
For this reason alone.
Right.
Big holes, lots of blood.
Right.
I mean, a field tip can kill a deer. Field tip can kill an animal.
It can.
If you put more blood on the ground to find that animal, the better.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we get him in the freezer. We get him in the freezer, right? And then so now we're after blowdown. I know I actually have another interview set up at some point with Matt from Fur and Feather Outfitters, and we may be discussing the whole blowdown thing because that was something else that changed our deer patterns like that. So you're going into the woods now after the blowdown. Do you have any deer in mind, or you'd going?
No, man.
So take me through the process.
So I knew a general area where I wanted to hunt, and this year I had to completely start over, given some life situations. And I had a crown land spot. I really was, and I still to this day I want to shoot something out in that area. It's pretty deep. Not a lot of people hunt it. Few big deer around there. A lot of doe activity.
Okay.
So I set that spot up, but in the bear season, I almost hit a really big 10-point. And I mean, I had my deer tag in my pocket. I barreled out of the truck, went, I think 200 yards in the woods, and sat there and waited till dark. Just to see if I scared him that area. I said, man, if I can pull this, nothing.
So, okay. All right. Take me through that for a second. So when you see this Big Ten, was this,
Oh, man, it was middle of September. The thing weighed over 200 pounds.
and it was just on your way to driving?
No, it was actually, I had to cut that bear hunt short because it started raining really bad. And
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't hunt in heavy rain.
I get
I
it.
looked at the forecast and I said, man, it's going to start raining.
Right.
I'm on my way back and I cross this, again, the stretch of land. I'm like, man, that looks like a big deer. And I'm getting closer and I'm on the phone with someone. I'm like, I got to go. Click. And this thing looks at me and then barrels into the wood. And I got pictures of it. And I'm like, man, like, so that didn't work out. That plan was completely kibosh. Hail Mary.
But fun.
But it gave me a general area where
Yeah.
I could start to hunt.
Yeah.
And we hear it a lot online. And this started my deer season transition. I started knocking on doors. I started looking at Google Maps. I was on back shift. I bet you every night looking at the way all this land was, the property lines, checking out everything, doing my legit homework.
Right.
And I have no problem knocking on doors. None.
Yep.
I have none of it. So I actually found out who lives in a certain area, found out what they own, so I got all the property lines mapped out and did my necessary homework there. And actually it worked out great because they had someone hunting their land years ago. No one has had done since then.
Right.
They heard Bowhunt. They're like, yeah, more than welcome. There's always deer in there.
Right.
I said, and this is the win of the season. I said, I'm after a deer.
Right.
And it was a 10-pointer. I know this to the day I saw it was 10-pointer.
Yeah.
I went in and it was getting later in the season. And again, I'm holding both my deer tags. And this 5-pointer comes out. And for whatever reason, again, I don't make decisions. Something goes autopilot. This thing comes in, and actually he blew out. I kind of had my eyes on him, and there was 2 does at the apple pile, and he kind of like, I don't think he looked at me, but he was scouting the area, and he blew out. The does stayed there, and I heard him blow for, to what sounded to me probably 80 yards.
Yeah.
And I just even with the does there, I just ripped on that grunt call, turned behind me, and probably 10, 15 minutes later, he came barreling in. Not a hesitation in his eye that time. Came in, sniffed at that doe. She took off. He sat there broadside, hugged the elbow, pop, 20 yards dead.
So, okay. What date? When did you take him?
That would have been, I want to say, it was actually the same day my mom shot her deer. And I want to say that was the tail end of October.
Okay. That's fine.
The very tail end.
Okay.
Like just, I want to say like the 21st of October, maybe the 22nd.
Okay. Okay.
Somewhere in that week, definitely.
Yep. So,
and,
you get him and so now you had no trouble. You said he bundled up almost.
I heard a crash. I said, I record all my hunts. I'm pretty sure you know that.
Yep.
I knew he piled up. I heard crash bang and nothing after that quiet. I was like, oh, he's piled up. And this was a pretty dense spot, like tight alders, like there's one shooting lane and that's it.
Okay.
So then I had no other bucks coming. Like that Big Ten never showed.
Okay.
I still to this day don't know where he's at.
Yep.
I started putting a lot of pressure on this other set and kind of just kept keeping the apples, kind of keeping, eyes on the other spot, take all human pressure out of there.
Yep.
And this would have been, I want to say November, somewhere around the 13th, 12th, somewhere around there. I randomly said, it was like 12 o'clock in the day. I just got off back shift, I'm pretty sure. I said, I'll go put apples out in both spots, check the cameras, and maybe I'll go sit that other spot.
Right.
And somewhat as I'm taking apples into the one spot, the homeowner actually came out and said, someone seen a big deer this morning. I said, how big?
Yeah.
And they said, well, I mean, they said they think it was a Big 10. I said, that'd be the one that I'm after.
Right.
Check my trail camera, nothing.
Right.
I have does in and out of there so much as it smelled like doe piss.
Sure. And this is something I'm familiar with. I get that.
Like I get that. I don't smell apples. I'm like, it smells rants right now.
Right.
And I just had a feeling, and I came back out of the woods. I said, I'm going to go to the other spot. I mean, he's on camera. He's chasing.
Yep.
And then the homeowner said, he's just like, if you kill a deer, can I have the rack of the other one? And I said, yeah, sure. I said, if this property gives me a bigger deer than the one that I shot, 100%. I said, I'll give you that rack. So he's just like, well, you better get back there then. I said, okay. Shook on it. I remember this to the day. I shook on it. Walked in the woods, didn't see a deer.
Okay.
And I'm sitting it's 1 o'clock at this point. It's probably about a half an hour by the time I get everything settled. It's 1 o'clock and I don't see anything. 4 o'clock turns around and one doe comes in, another doe comes in, snap, crack. Well, no, they got in there pretty quiet. And then all of a sudden, and I hit record as soon as I seen this out of the corner of my eye because I knew it was buck.
Right.
Like seeing that glare of that antler, and it's still bright out, so antlers glow.
Yep.
And I see it, and I mean, he's like 80, 60, 70 yards out now. And I see him through the timber, click record, get set up. I don't even worry about the does in front of me.
Yeah.
Get all set up, and this thing, he's coming in, nose to the ground, and I just see this rack, and I'm like, this is that 10 point. Like, immediately connected it in my head that this is the 10 pointer I'm after. Right. And he comes in, and I thought he was so hyper focused on the does there because I'm smelling what he's smelling.
Yeah.
So I got ready, and I got a new release, and I went to go hook my release, and it missed.
Yep.
And I had this hole behind my apples I was going to shoot him through because I said, these deer are going to spook, and he's going to go with them.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, the doe is on the right-hand side of the apple pile.
Yep.
Right? Broadside.
And he comes around.
And he's coming from the left-hand side. So there was a hole there that you thought as he came through. There was a hole
in behind there. You can see it. And I say, if he stops, like I'm going to be at full draw, ideally, when he walks by there, that's going to be a shot opportunity. If not, I'll let down.
Yeah.
Missed, didn't get drawn back. So I'm like, and then that doe
goes to the right. It just takes off to the right. Yep.
Yeah, she didn't go far. She just went away from the apples.
Yeah, okay.
So and he like soon as he turned, I said, draw back.
Right.
Drew back. He put his head, and I said, and it was almost identical shot I did to the 5 point.
Right.
Like 2 to 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
I went a little bit more high, but again, popped that off, and I thought I heard him crash, but again, I was just think it's the 10 point. Just think it's this 10 point.
Yeah. Turns
out it was a 9 point. Never on my camera. No one's seen this deer around. Like, and he probably went. I mean, that was a blood trail. That was an easy track job. It was really good. And he went to the same spot where the 5 point was, plus 10 yards. That's it.
Oh wow. Okay,
yeah,
that's actually pretty interesting because this is a buck ultimately in the end that hasn't certainly shown up on camera for you yet. Yeah. But even in its flight mode, it took the same flight path.
Same trail.
Yeah.
And he busted on the same trail that he got on and turned the same way.
Okay.
But he made it 10 yards further.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So there we go. We got 3 tags filled. All with what bow are you shooting this year, or what we're shooting last year?
Man, I'm a big if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
I've only owned 2 compound bows, and I bought an entry-level Hoyt Power Max. Was my first bow. Sold that to my buddy to invest into like just a more flagship bow.
Yep.
And I've been shooting it. I had the Power Max for 3 years, and then I had the Hoyt Hyperforce. I had that. This will be its 5th or 6th season.
Yep.
And I mean, it's actually funny because I keep all my kills on my quiver, and there's a bunch of tallies here. So the same quiver, and so like that would mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 19 kills with this quiver. So
okay, that's all right.
Yeah,
so you like the Hoyt, but I agree with you. You don't need a new one every year.
No, I mean, last year, it's carbon limb, right? So it's not a carbon bow. Obviously, the limbs are carbon. I split the limb, just shooting in the backyard. Ran it for that season. It's not like I needed a brand new bow. Hoyt gave me new limbs, got them on in the new year, but I hunted with a cracked limb the whole season.
Right.
Put some nail polish on it.
Yeah. It was more like a splinter, was it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things that it works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
But so, you did okay.
Yeah. And like kind of covered like the setup a little more. And I'm a big believer in single pin sights. So I shoot a Hoyt Hyperforce 32 axle to axle.
Right.
I'm a longer guy. I'm 6'3".
Yep. But you're still only shooting 32. That's not a long bow.
It's not, but you would never catch me shooting a 30-inch axle to axle. It's a toy to me. It's way too small. I shoot 65 pounds. What else? I shoot the Easton Axis 350s.
Very familiar with those, sure.
Oh yeah. Broadheads, I've always shot expandables. I've shot notoriously rages.
Right.
Some people hate them. Yep. I will never shoot a rage hypodermic. I hate them with passion. They're the weakest broadhead made. And actually, here's the exact reason. For anybody that's new, and I'm not bashing any brand, but no broadhead should ever break off like that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so essentially what's missing is your screw in. The Rage Tri-Fan, that's made better. They burled it up at the bottom, so you shouldn't have that happen. Now, this is my, I believe, 4th season shooting sevens.
Okay.
And, I mean, man, they're darts. I like them.
Yep. So that's your preference. You have an easier time tuning those to your field points, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Having it that way.
I mean, broadheads is a debatable thing, right? Like we're all right till we're wrong.
Yep, I agree.
So I mean,
been through that myself.
Yeah. I will say, if you got the pounds to shoot expandables, cool. But even with a higher pound bow, a fixed blade is still going to do just. I mean, you're blowing through that.
Yeah. So, well, and there's a lot of. So, what are those? Are those 100s or 125s?
I shoot. So funny story, actually. I shoot 100s.
Yep.
Then I also shoot Iron Will shock collar.
Okay. How many extra grains up front does that give you?
Just 25.
Okay.
I mean, I could. So essentially, I'm shooting my insert, and I don't go do anything crazy there. I just use the hit inserts.
Yep.
But anybody who knows Easton Axis hit, like Easton Axis is your most popular arrow, but there's actually a weak point right in here.
Yeah. It's
because there's nothing there. So that extra, this is just aluminum, I believe. It's nothing crazy, steel, whatever.
Yep.
Just gives it that extra strength. And since I've switched to these collars, I've never had a broadhead break off at the base again.
Right.
A lot of different things to factor in there. So
yeah. I know that myself. I like using a brass insert. Gives a little bit. It's like an internal collar in a lot of ways. Because it comes back so far inside the shaft, and it does give me that extra weight. This is something, man, I'll tell you, if you're new to bow hunting, you can read anything about how much weight up front, there's a lot, man. There is a lot out there.
I tell people all the time, I said, I do not get into it that deep because I don't want to, because I would hate to, someone new to bow hunting, like my buddy, there's a secondhand bow, 6-year-old bow. And I said, dude, I would buy it if I had the extra money, just because, I mean, I think it's you're saving a lot of money and someone's going to get the benefit of that thing.
Yeah.
And we talked about setups and I said, dude, we can go in as deep as you want or as shallow as you want. I mean, archery gets
as deep as you want or as shallow as you need, maybe.
Yeah. And hey, I'm a shallow guy.
I get it.
I mean, and to be fair, this is how people really I have a few friends that always are bouncing ideas off me. I'm like, dude, I don't even know how much my arrow weighs. Could not tell you for the life of me. I know that if every arrow has the same component on it,
yeah,
it weighs the same.
Yeah.
I mean, long as I think, I'm at the point where over the years I accumulated so many Luminox, lighted Nox.
Yeah.
I just use them as practice arrows. I don't use X-Nox. I put Luminox in everything.
Yep. And
everything has a shock collar. Everything has a 100 grain tip. And then when hunting season comes up, I carry one field tip, the rest of broadheads. Ideally, I'm shooting the same arrow year round. That's how simple I am.
And it's interesting, and it's not anything. Again, I know that as I was coming out of the gate, and I was kind of licking my wounds from mistakes that I was making, it was one of those things where I decided, you know what? Competition, hunting, rabbit hunting, it didn't matter what I was going after. Same broadhead, same arrow, same grains, same. And I had to make some mistakes in order to funnel into one. And then once I got control of that one, I ended up kind of slowly expanding out. And it's I mean, you look at the bows behind me there, I can almost pick up any of those bows and change an arrow weight or a shaft, and in 30, 40 minutes, tune it, and then be able to shoot it effectively to do whatever it is that I want. But it's because I've been trying so much. After I focused on something, after I found something that worked, I was able to try different things, knowing that I could always fall back to what worked, what I knew worked. I've been able to expand my knowledge a little bit on a whole bunch of things and realize, depending on what would have happened where I ended up focusing, you realize there's a couple different ways to get a really good shooting, really effective killing bow, either by being a little more accurate or having a little more weight or being a little more patient. Sometimes it's not always the bow.
You know where to exercise your efforts.
Right.
Yeah. And that just comes with time. That comes 100%. With time.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go in your first year of hunting, get alone bow hunting, nowhere to put all your efforts. You will not.
Right.
It's one of those consistent things. And I wish I could tell my buddy who's getting into bow hunting this year and say, hey, dude, go here, do this, and it'll work and you'll kill something.
Right.
Yeah. But guess what? You're working on another thing's clock.
Yeah.
You're working with weather. You're working with your setup. You're working with what you put. There's a lot of moving pieces, right?
The number one thing that I get when new bow hunters come knocking, or guys and girls thinking about bow hunting, I mean, they're not bow hunters yet, but they're considering becoming, bow hunters. A lot of the time it's for the extra season. And
100%.
I that's where I always have my most concern, because it's sort of like I'm only taking up archery or bow hunting for that early season, for that extra time. And it's not that I don't begrudge people who want the extra time in the woods. It's just that when someone asks me, my honest answer is, I want to take up bow hunting. What do I need to do? Really, the best answer I can give them is quit your job, because you're going to need a lot of time.
I want to take a bow hunting. Cool. Your job was cool.
Yeah. You got no time for that now. But that's not entirely true. But I think it illustrates the point that
you'd be more successful.
Well, you learn a lot more with 40 hours of practice and hunting a week than maybe just being able to do it for 10 hours. but
here's what I
catch up.
and I believe this, and this kind of goes a little bit deeper than like bow hunting or who you are
Sure.
as a person. The main reason I do like archery, I'll say archery, because it's a craft, and if you implement passion with it, you will be more successful.
I agree.
I am very, like anybody who knows me personally, I'm super into working out. I'm super into like a lot of things, and when passion is combined with a hobby, and you have a perfect storm, because you no longer want to take in information for just for shits. You want to take in information to apply it so you can increase your success rate. Right. So, I mean, I recently just went from just being a bro lifter to switching to CrossFit. And there's so many technical things that are involved with your body. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, this is right up my alley. I can truly hone a craft and a passion that is no longer archery. Because archery, I mean, I'm still not good at that. I'm just good.
Look, everybody knows my story. Fell out of a tree. I'm a lefty now. You know, I don't want to go too much more into that. I've told that story so many times. But in the end, switching or having to switch to left-handed was a very interesting thing for me, because it gave me a reset. You know, you talk about passion and refining a craft. I had to make a choice again to do it, not all over again. I ended up having obviously a base knowledge, but you know, it was quite a bit that had to go into it. And it almost, not that I was ever pulling away from archery in any way. I was not, but it just sort of gave me something to come back to the basics.
Yeah.
That's something that, you know, we'll go back to what you're saying. You didn't necessarily know what weight arrow you shoot. How important is it to understand that fully? If as a hunter, you've got everything else in a bow and a setup that's obviously capable of taking game animals, how much do you absolutely have to know, other than it's set up to
the more than you do know, the more you know, the more educated you are, you can apply that education 100%. I'm just one of those guys. I'm like very like, I bet you if I wasn't a bow hunter and I got into hunting all over again, I'd be fine shooting my dad's 30-30 through the bush. Like, it'd be fine for me. Like, I wouldn't need anything. I don't need the top end gear. Yes, a lot of people look at like, it's a pro shop bow too, right? So I mean, it's not your quick fix $400 compound bow.
Yeah.
But I had my quick fix. I think it was like a $700 bow at the time, brand new. Yeah. I mean, that got me to where I wanted to invest more money, because I realized it was a passion. Yeah. And you know, you start doing, again, you start aiding in your passions, and you know where to invest that. You no longer look at the money that you are spending. Like, I didn't look one season with the new bow and I'm like, okay, I'm sold.
Right. Yeah.
But I would never tell anybody starting out in bow hunting or, you know, archery in general, do.
Uh-oh.
You hear me?
Oh, there we are. Hear you now. That was weird.
Yeah. No, I would never tell anybody getting new into hunting, hey, go spend $2,000 on a bow set.
Look, I dare say,
told me I needed $2,000 to get into a hobby.
Right. Yeah. I dare say that perhaps, I mean, I don't know what the stats, and we'll never know the stats, so I can't be proven right or wrong. That's a lovely position to be in. But, but I mean, the number of the oh my goodness, the diamonds made by
yeah.
Are you on again?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I got you. But whoever makes the diamond, I'm not remembering.
Bowtech makes them. It's an all-brand.
Yeah, sorry, Bowtech. So I mean, the number of deer taken with those bows in this province, crazy amounts, right? Because and here's the wonderful thing about that style of bow. If you're brand new to archery, this bow goes from whatever it is, 15 to 70 pounds, from,
I believe so, yeah.
You know, 17-inch draw up to 32 or something like that. And so you can buy it and not have to look for somebody with the same draw, you know, you can sell it to almost anybody.
Yeah. And I always bring actually yourself up, and anybody who is a recurve guy, a longbow guy, anybody who I bring them up all the time because I say, man, I talk to like recurve hunters all the time, and I'll tell you one thing: my bow generates way more power than that,
Yeah,
and they still kill.
absolutely.
But there are some things like I would never tell someone. I mean, if you're getting away with 50-pound bow, don't shoot an expandable.
Yeah, yeah,
I would rather have that energy put two holes in an animal
yeah.
rather than one big hole in one side, right?
Yeah. And it is, you're right. It again, know your limitations with the equipment that you got, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fling an arrow out never past 20 meters for me at a deer with my longbow. It can't happen. I can't let it happen because the equipment has limitations the further out it gets, right? Both the
100%, man.
archer
So,
and the equipment.
I mean, what can go wrong? What can go right?
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
And yeah, we all love. There's nothing more I love is sinking an arrow in a 10 ring at 80 yards.
Oh, feels wonderful.
I would never, and to this day, I think the furthest I shot an animal was 21 yards.
And I will just put a caveat. There's a difference between trying to shoot a bull moose compared to a black bear. Compared again to a white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
Understand the game you're after.
Yeah, and like I would argue to a lot of people, I'd rather be closer to a bear than a deer because like bear, like you got high and fat. Like you think that they're this big, but they're not.
It's not as big the bread basket that the boiler room. It can be a tricky shot. It can be a tricky shot.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but they're not going to jump your string, which is nice. That's kind of it. There's so much that happens.
Like I bet you 80% of my animals were killed under 15 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was unheard of. I shot this deer 5 yards and he was underneath me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he came out and I didn't even know what it was. It was grunt and it came out and I said, oh, like this is my last day of my vacation. I'm killing it. Here goes a forkhorn. And it walks out and I see these two bent down tines. I'm like, what is that? And again, cool, calm, collected, took one step, pop, ran 60 yards, fell over. That was a 5-yard shot.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, look, we say this and when the last time the stats would have been updated, but certainly at one time that 15-yard shot was the average shot. So it's not like it's, as a bow hunter, so long as you're setting yourself up for that shot, that you're setting up. If you set yourself up where you're going to be seeing deer at an apple pile 40 yards out, you're going to see deer 40 yards out. Set yourself up for 100%. The close shots.
Just give me 2 seconds.
Yep. Well, we've got about I got about 6 minutes before I'm going to have to cut you loose.
Yeah, no, it kind of ties into like what I said the other day, what I said when I first started about my setup. I'm a big believer in single pin sights.
Right. And
I tell everyone, I said, hey, if someone's listening to this and they're out west, that's a whole different game. But guess what?
Agreed.
I've shot a 3-pin, I shot a 5-pin, and I haven't switched this single pin sight. It's been since I got it, I haven't switched it.
All right.
Because I set myself up so that I only have to use one pin. And right. I mean, I set that pin at, I think, 18 yards every season because it's either going to be behind the apples or in front of the apples.
Yep. And
1 inch will not matter.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I agree with you. You could be shooting a toothpick. Seriously. Yeah. Honestly. And I mean,
I try to sell that. They're like, oh, what if he comes out and he's 30 yards? I said, don't shoot.
Right. That's how I am too. Again, because we're hunting in Nova Scotia after whitetail in thickets, for the most part.
You're hunting thickets. You're hunting bait barrels. You're hunting bait. I mean, we do have the benefit. We get to hunt apple piles. I mean, a lot of people will shit on that, but hey, it's a tactic we get to use.
Yep. Yep.
So why not use it? If
Yep.
I could get away with shooting 12 gauge slug on my bow, I probably would.
Right.
Because I can. Because I can.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I really do. I really
It's
do.
a tactic. We could use it. It's allowed.
Yep. Tyler, I got about 5 minutes before this whole Zoom thing's going to kick me off again. So it's something I'm going to have to try and figure out why that's doing that this year. I will say quick, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me today. I want to congratulate you. I don't know that I got to do that on another 3 big game season using archery tackle. Like that is really saying something. I believe it's saying something. I'm happy that guys are out there doing it, and I wanted the hunters out there to know that there are guys out there doing it.
Hey, I say it's completely doable. And like, again, if you didn't pick up, and I hold this very true to myself and something I'm super proud to say, and it's not like an ego thing, but it's the thing to say like, hey, it can be done. I've yet to shoot a big game animal with a rifle.
Right.
So like that is something to say like, hey, like just, I mean, sounds super cliche, but anybody getting a bow hunting hears it, just keep hammering, just keep going at it. Like, you're gonna be able to do it. And like, yeah, you're gonna have bad days, bad hunts, bad seasons, but I'm telling you, when it comes together, and especially with a bow, especially with an arrow, like it comes together, the amount of relief, the amount of like, and you did that. And I'm a big believer in like people accomplishing things so that they can feel good about themselves. Because I'm not telling you, like, there's no better feeling.
Yeah. No, and this is it. I agree with you. It's a real sort of quick. I mean, I grew up with my father, and he didn't hunt with a bow. He hunted with a shotgun and a slug. And it was still hunting, you know.
Yeah, it's all hunting.
He did that because that's what he wanted to do, and he knew that he could do it, and he had good success. And I'm not much of a rifle guy. No, nothing against rifles. I've always been a bow hunter.
Don't shoot them.
Right. And so it's one of those things. Find what it is that you want to do, and if you decide it's what you want to do, you'll do it. You'll find the people who are going to be able to help you, because they'll see it in you.
No. Hey, I've been saying that so much about, not just about bowhunting, but like, if you do what, like, truly what you want to do, like, forget about all the other, you're doing something because someone wants to do it. Like, do it because you enjoy it. You enjoy shooting your bow. If you enjoy that, you enjoy hunting, you will bring people around from that community. And it doesn't need to be down the road. Like, look at this right now, Travis. I've never met you personally.
I know.
Never met you personally.
Yep.
I can say that I like to believe that we're friends. We talk throughout the hunting season, the off season, like, hey, and that's the thing. That's a good thing about social media. Brought the hunting world stronger, I believe. So it's kind of cool. Like, it can make it super attainable to achieve what you want and to get the knowledge you want personally from other people.
Yeah. We talk a lot, and I know I'm going to lose you here. It's going to be 2 minutes. You know, I'm going to say, I hope very much that we can do this again sometime this year.
Yeah.
Let's have another conversation, and let's start talking about that whole, I know you mentor a lot of friends, and that sort of stuff. We talk about mentoring in this province a lot as a potential issue, where people get the training and then they lose track of how to kind of forward. It's available. That's something I think you and I can talk about in the future. And so we'll set that up again for maybe later this season, sometime maybe end of March. We'll get back together and have a great conversation about that. So, Tyler, congratulations again on having a great year. I'm going to lose you in about 60 seconds. So,
all good. Thank you,
man. Yeah, thank you. And let's keep pounding. Check Tyler out. He does have a couple of YouTube videos up. If you see him online, give him a couple of likes. It's just your hunts, right? It's just what you do for fun.
I put them together for my family, essentially, to send them off. Yeah, like my Instagram is just pretty simple, Tyler Boutilier. You'll find me somewhere. YouTube is like Iron Arrow Outdoors.
Okay.
Like, any of it, like, straight, quick edits.
All right. Thanks, man. To the woods.